getting worse and worse all the time. Finally, I hang the wheels over the edge of the racetrack, which was the end of the dirt. I mean, the end of the asphalt. Didn't go into the dirt. I come back, I push it back to the pits, and who's standing there but Paul Candies? He's one of the few people that saw what went on, because it was really early in the day. There were essentially no spectators. And the other participants didn't care what I was doing. But Candies was watching, right?
Did you know Paul at that time?
I met Paul because he raced a 57 Chevy. Him and Leonard Hughes started drag racing with almost identical 57 Chevy coupes. And Glenn was in that mix with those guys.
Cupid.
Yeah. And so he was a drag racer. And I knew of Paul from my days with Cue Ball, because they were pals. And he ended up sponsoring Cue Ball to the next 3 or 4 dragsters. Until he died. He was the money behind Cue Ball. And fast forward 40 years later, Jim Cavanaugh, my pal Cavanaugh, who won those 2 trophies up there at the Dry Lakes in 1948 in a 32 two-door sedan, is sitting at a bar at a Bellwether speed shop gathering. He's selling wheels for appliance plating. And Candies comes in and sits next to him. And Kavanaugh is talking about stuff that he and I had just done, which was go to Oregon and straighten up some legislation that would have outlawed chrome wheels and suspension changes and what have you. And Candy says, "You know Don Prieto?" Kavanaugh says, "Yeah, he's my best pal." Like, he just says that kind of thing. And Candy says, "Let me tell you a story." He says, "Let me tell you about this big-time drag racer." And he relates the whole story of me running off the racetrack in my first time in this dragster. So it was stunning to have it come back after all that time, and that was the first time that something from my youth had come back either to haunt me or make me feel good. Where the story told me either good or bad, but running off the racetrack and having him watch it and then tell the story all that time later was really something. It was really spectacular. This is Cue Ball's coupe racing Marina Monjour. This was the car that Cue Ball started out drag racing with. This is at Biloxi in 1957 or 8, right in there.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll include that. So, I raced that car a couple of more times. I talked my parents into coming out and watching when we went to Homa. And this is going to be the second time that I drove the car. And so it's the usual startup drill. But I'm a little nervous because my folks are there. And I pull up to the starting line, winging the throttle and what have you. And I didn't put it in second gear. I left it in high gear. And of course it's turning a blue million, and I sidestepped the clutch, and it moved about a car length and coughed. And blew a ball of fire out the top of the carburetors. Must have been 15 feet in diameter, right? And it just startled me. And then I realized that it wasn't. I guess I jam it in second gear, go back after it, and drive it on through, and I'm aggravated. So next time, I'm going to do better. So later on that day, we go up to make another run. This is before lunchtime even. And I'm ready. I'm going to put it in gear this time. Everything's going to work, and I'm going to go fast. I had run at home. I ran 138 miles an hour, and they paid you $1 a mile over 110. So I got $28 for going to the races from Gordon Novell. That was tow money. So I was a professional racer, man.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Things are looking up.
I
now.
think that it was like $4 worth of gas to get to Homa, and 50 cents worth of gas for the race car, and 50 cents to get in, and that was it. So I was well ahead of the game. So the next pass I'm making at Homa, understand that the throttle cable is a cable, and it goes through an awning pulley. You know what an awning pulley is? It's a little device with a wheel in it, and you run the cable through it, and it's slotted. And you run the awning up in front of the house, those little pulleys. Well, the cable went off the throttle, off the pedal, through this, through another one up here, and up to the shaft that pulled all 6 carburetors back and forth. Oh boy. So I go up, I'm ready. I stick it in second gear and I give it the gas and I go blazing off and the tires are smoking and I shift it into high gear and I'm really cooking and the throttle, one of the pulleys breaks out of the firewall and the motor goes to idle. Damn. Where are you going to get a pulley? In Hammond, Louisiana on a Sunday morning. No such thing. I was done. I was dead in the water. One run with a ball of fire and the other one about halfway down the racetrack and it quits, you know. End of Cue Ball's car. End of Gene Zella's car. I don't want anything more to do with this thing. It has embarrassed me for the last time.
And what did your mom and dad have to say about this?
They went, what was that all about?
Yes.
But then again, they had seen other cars run. The Cue Ball was there. Sonny Ranson was there with I don't know if you remember Glenn's email that said he was at the Nationals with Wayne Smythe, and they had this B-modified Roadster, and it ran really good. I think they had the national record for a while, and they raced guys like Van de Venter and what have you. And he sold that car to Sonny Ranson. Sonny Ranson put a blown Chevy in it with a hard enclosed drive.
The chain drive up to the
chain
wall.
drive, yeah. Yeah, and I remember pulling in the gate and I hear this, what was that? Well, the chain broke about in the lights, and it made a mess of that aluminum front. And I think that was Sonny's only run. He made 2 runs in that car. One practice, and then that one first full on throttle and broke all the pieces, and I guess he figured that was a bit much. And speaking of Sonny, his dad owned a funeral home called Ranson's Funeral Parlor, and we used to meet. The Road Rebels used to meet in the general meeting room in the funeral home. We had our club meeting there.
That's just your local car club?
The local car club called the Road Rebels. And Cue Ball was a member. I don't think I ever became a member because I didn't have a car or anything at the time. I was just a hanger around. But I'd go to the meetings with Gene and different people. And J.D. Gagliano, who owned the coupe after Cue Ball, was a practical joker. And he knew that Cue Ball was really spooky. And he didn't even like going to the funeral home, but he'd go. So we set up this deal where, and Candies will tell this story too because he knows it by heart. We go to the meeting and JD goes in and gets in one of the coffins, and he leaves the door open, the lid up so he can see out of it. And we turn the light on so that it can see the people coming through. And when Cue Ball comes into view, he opens the lid and sits up. And Cue Ball turned around and went out of that place and never came back.
That's a beauty. That's a beauty.
Yeah.
That's a good
oh
memory.
Boy.
Good one.
That was really something.
Yeah.
And we're back in time now. You're back to 16 years old or whatever.
Oh no! This was in the late 50s, early 60s.
Well, this is
we're all racing. All these guys in the Road Rebels were racing, and also members of the car club, because it was a racing car club. They bought a Roadster from Pete Mattei, who won the Nationals in '59 in that Roadster. They bought it from him as a club project, and they got it pretty much finished, but they never ran it. The club kind of disbanded. They lost interest,
And this is around when you made these fireball runs.
yeah, this
and
was
that.
all the same period.
Same period,
We're
okay.
talking about a span of from '57, because I would come home on the weekends from the Air Force. I would be going to the races and stuff with these guys, with Knott Farrington and Cue Ball and various other people. Even while I was in the military. So that before I got out, I got really into drag racing, but I didn't do it hands-on. I was a spectator and a tire wiper and a participant with the guys, but I didn't do it. And I didn't start doing it until I got with Gene in late '59, early '60. And I had gone to races and guys had given me a ride in a Model A, with a Chevy in it that was squirrely, and they wanted me to get it down the course. And I was a fairly decent driver of most things that didn't scare me. When it frightened me is when we started dealing with the thunder. Then it got to me a bit.